And lo, there appeared in the east a mighty star, which shone bright upon the earth. And when the people saw the star, they were in awe.
And tonight, we're proud to bring you that same star as we present Max Headroom's giant Christmas turkey. With people from all nations. Dave Edmonds, the Southwark Cathedral Choir, Bob Geldof, Robin Williams, and Tina Turner.
Merry Christmas!
Plus, of course, Max, I Did Christmas My Way, Headroom.
Hi, Max Headroom here. Yes, believe me, as I live and dye my hair, this is really happening. Me, with you, at Christmas time. Everyone is so full of good cheer and love for one another, I could almost cry with happiness and seasonal goodwill. But you know, Christmas is a sad time, too. And I get a tear in my eye and a lump in my stocking when I think of all the people who can't enjoy Christmas, like the pygmies in New Guinea, walking around all day with nothing on. No roast turkey with chestnut stuffing. No snow. No little paper rolly things with a feather in them that shoot out, go and annoy people when you blow them. Yes, there's always a pygmy less well off than yourself. But wait a minute, hang on, hold your reindeers, I hear some of you squeak. A Christmas show needs atmosphere. Otherwise, it doesn't feel like Christmas. And you know, you've hit the nail right on the thumb. That's right, because I'd love to have all the little things that Perry Como has, except the songs. I'd love to eat roast chestnuts, go out in the snow, jingle along in a sleigh through the Christmas streets, calling out cheerily to the people, radiant with goodwill, love, and good old Christmas boredom and irritation. But I can't. There it is. I just haven't got what Perry's got.
Ho, ho, Merry Christmas!
Welcome back to Ioe's Retro Rush, episode 3. We are here during the Christmas time, Christmas break, going over what has and what has been and what it will be. We are right in the middle of the off-season, the break a little bit here. And, I got the kids home for Christmas break, just going to town upstairs. So we'll have that going on in the background. But I'm here to just kind of break down sort of the end of the year, the playoffs and the championships, go back and look at my predictions, see how we did, and then kind of go into the off-season about maybe what's going to happen here, maybe tonight with the DSFL draft, and kind of moving into the next season, season 52. So, let's kind of start off with looking back at what was season 51. Let's go ahead and take a look at Ioe's DSFL predictions. I had originally predicted that the Bondi Beach and the Tijuana Luchadors would represent one side, and the Minnesota Grey Ducks and the Portland Pythons would represent the Royals and their Servants division. And I was almost, what would that be? 75% correct. I actually missed out on I selected Tijuana, but it happened to be the Dallas Bird Dogs with their 7-7 record making it to the Tijuana country and making it to face Bondi in the playoffs. So let's take a quick look at how that went down. So over in the first round, the Tijuana country division, the Buccaneers 11-3 defeated the Dallas Bird Dogs 28-24. Really close game, as it looked like Bondi Beach kind of went up early, scoring 7 in the first quarter, and then again 2 scores in the second quarter. But Dallas made it a game in the third quarter with a 15 points unanswered to close the gap. But a late touchdown in the fourth quarter by Bondi would seal the game at 28-24. D. Thwilison, the quarterback from Bondi, went 270 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 INTs. He was sacked 1 time. Running back Tomato had 145 yards on the ground, including a touchdown on the receiving end. Novak had 135 yards through the air. Pretty solid game for them. Over on the Dallas side, Dallas GM went 283 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was sacked 3 times. Quarterback rating 83.9. Rushing was led mostly by F-150, who had 77 yards, on the ground on 12 carries, and then Bettis Jr. had 53 yards on 5 carries, a 10.6 average, and a touchdown. Receiving-wise, Fast Track, 119 yards, no touchdowns on 8 receptions, and then Bardot had 6 receptions for 76 yards and a touchdown. So overall, a really, really close game on that end. Over on the Royals and Servants side, we had the Grey Ducks, the team that picked me up, 9-5, facing the Pythons, also 9-5, in another very close game with the Grey Ducks defeating them 24-20. Again, going up early in the second quarter, 10 unanswered, and then another 14 in the third quarter. But Portland had a late run there, 13-point fourth quarter to bring it to 20 and bring them up to 20. To close the gap to 4 points. On the Grey Duck side, McDougal went 346 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 INT. He was sacked 3 times. He had a pretty good game. On the receiving end, Ezra Torrent had 9 receptions, 93 yards, and a touchdown. That was that late season pickup. Benny the Jet had 143 yards on 5 receptions for a touchdown. And Hodges Allen, 79 yards on 5 receptions. Running back wise was led by Kyle with 12 attempts, 68 yards. Solid offensive attack over there. On the Portland side, they had Rockman with 247 yards and no touchdowns, 1 INT. On the ground, it was a 2-man crew. Schwab, 45 yards, and De La Serena, who both had touchdowns. Both had about 45 yards. On the receiving end, Jay Myers had 88 yards and no touchdowns. Moving on to the championship, we had the Grey Ducks losing in pretty ugly fashion to the Buccaneers. 28 points in the first quarter for Bondi, and they just didn't look back. Ended up winning 50-7. DeThuilison, 359 yards, 3 touchdowns. We had Novak had 139 yards catching. Toss 78 yards catching, both with touchdowns. Tomato had 3 touchdowns on the ground, 85 yards. Just dominance over there. On the Minnesota side, McDougal 229 yards, only 1 touchdown, 4 interceptions. Was kind of what the big deal was over there. Benny the Jet had 148 yards and a touch, and your boy Ezra Torrent had 34 yards on 3 receptions. All right, moving on over to the ISFL side of things. Io had predicted, representing the ASFC, I had the Silverbacks, the Outlaws, Honolulu, and the Copperheads, all reaching on the ASFC. NSFC side, I had the Hawks, the Wraiths, the Sailfish, and the Kaiju representing the NSFC. And again, I go almost completely perfect with the exception of 1 pick, as the second line got in over the, let's see, who they get in over? Honolulu. Honolulu did not make it. It was the second line that ended up getting that spot. And yeah, let's break down the playoffs. So in the ASFC first round, we have the second line 9-7 going against the Outlaws in a very tight matchup. They ended up coming out of that 35-31 Outlaws. Very great game. Led a lot by 3 touchdowns from O'Duck on 268 yards. Mediocre had 106 yards receiving, 1 touchdown. And both running backs, Aguilera and Banford, both have touchdowns on the ground. On the other side, Speedings did have 3 touchdowns, but they did have 2 INTs on 335 yards. Parcelli had 135 yards through the air for reception. Crane, 71 yards, 6 receptions. So they move on to the semifinal. The next game in the ASFC side, we have the Silverbacks 9-7 taking on the Copperheads, with the Silverbacks taking the victory there, 30-24, on a very solid game by the run game. E. Dyson, 105 yards. Oh, this is the quarterback. So the quarterback had 105 yards rushing and a touchdown, also 136 yards throwing and a touchdown. So 2 touchdowns for them. So Dyson really ran the show for the Silverbacks. On the Copperhead side, Q the third had 3 touchdowns, but also 2 INTs. So 380 yards through the air, 3 touchdowns. Lala had 150 yards catching and a touch, and Mardukas. Moving on to the NSFC side, the Kaiju 8-8 take on the Hawks 10-5-1, and the Hawks take that one to go to the next phase. 28-23, led on the ground by Skywalker, 102 yards and 2 touchdowns. The quarterback turned the ball over, had 190 yards and a touch, also an INT. Over on the Kaiju side, Jimmy's had 247 yards and a touchdown. Nash Saim had 77 yards through the air and a touchdown. Last game of the first round, we have the 10-6 Sailfish taking on the 10-6 Wraiths, and the Sailfish earned that victory, 28-16. The Sailfish had a pretty solid game, pretty much defensively. On offense, only 160 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns INT for Bugs at quarterback. Zip Step had 61 yards and a touchdown on the ground. And Don Quixote, 80 yards receiving on 5 receptions, 2 touchdowns, led the offense there for a solid matchup. In the semifinals, we have the Silverbacks taking on the Outlaws with a close one-point game, 34-33. Silverbacks, led by their quarterback again, Dyson Jr., had 217 yards, 3 touchdowns through the air, with another 61 yards on the ground to lead that offense over the Outlaws, who had a pretty solid game. Mediocre had 118 yards on the ground and 19 attempts. So in the semifinal, we have the Sailfish versus the Hawks, with the Sailfish moving on to the championship, 31-27. Led by their quarterback Bugs, who had 429 yards through the air, 3 touchdowns, a rating of 120.6. A lot of that was caught by Elroy, 114 yards on 6, and Don Quixote, 153 yards on 6 receptions, with Roy getting all 3 touchdowns. And then on to the championship, we have the Silverbacks versus the Sailfish, with the Silverbacks 26-18 to wrap up the season and win the championship. Dyson just carrying in this postseason, 167 yards through the air and a touchdown, another 37 yards on the ground. But Hammerfall also 84 yards on the ground and a touch. Just a run-heavy machine over here. So congratulations to the Silverbacks on the Season 51 championship. Well, we're getting overtime, and that'll about do it as we put a nice big old bow on Season 51 and get ready to move into Season 52. And I am happy and proud to announce that the DSFL is over, and I am going back to Minnesota as a second-round receiver, going back to the team to pick me up with waivers for a little bit of running it back. So that's the future plans for your boy Io and his player Ezra Torrent. And let's get ready to ring in the new year. Hopefully I'll get another video out before the end of this year for going into next year to kind of preview of Season 52. Thanks again, everybody. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, stay safe, and enjoy what you got. Take care.